We now turn our attention towards Jackson Hole.
We have a restrictive stance, in my view. We should keep it there for a while.
When markets are soft into Jackson Hole, usually you get a pretty nice bounce in the following week.
We're seeing inflation coming down. I think that we've probably done enough.
Most of market participants are expecting it to be hawkish.
The risk is that Powell goes too far.
I think he's going to signal that we're in the end game of this tightening process. The Fed chair is going to say that policy is in a good place, dramatically better place than he was a year ago.
I actually think if it's hawkish, that's probably okay because that's what we're expecting. If it's dovish, there's sort of this expectation too that, oh, that would drive a rally. They're not going to go as far as we thought. It's not going to be as strong. I think if it's dovish, it sends more of a message that they don't have the tools to solve the problem.
Really?
There's also this underlying murmur of what if they start signaling that they'd be comfortable with something above 2% target? If that's the message and that's received as dovish, I think the interpretation then by markets may be initially positive because it's a dovish message, but then later you start to get to the point where you realize, wait a minute, does that mean that their tools aren't fixing it? Does that mean that we have to give up on the target? We have to give up on the goal because we don't have the tools to fix this anymore.
We were looking for markets to bottom sometime this week. Latest it would be is Friday, because when markets are soft into Jackson Hole, usually you get a pretty nice bounce in the following week.
I think the risk is that Powell goes too far. I've been saying this really since like March or April. Nothing has happened that will change my mind. There are two types of people that get in the shower. People that get in, the temperature, it's like close enough to okay, and they just stay in there long enough, get accustomed to it. And then there are people who have to twiddle the knob every 2 seconds, and they never stop adjusting it. And that's Powell. And he did it in 2018. We all watched him. Hike, hike, hike. Oh, wait. Oops. Cut, cut, cut. This is probably what's going to happen this time. They're not really sneaking it in. They want everyone to know that they're capable of doing it. I wouldn't call that sneaking. Whatever the last hike is going to be, it's definitely going to be the one that was too many. And honestly, the whole thing is incoherent to me. They keep saying that Fed monetary policy operates on a lag, but just in case, let's do a few more rate cuts. If it operates on a lag, then by definition, shouldn't we be going slower? Shouldn't we stop too early rather than too late? But they don't seem to care about what their own words are, and they're probably going to do too much. I think that's what the market feels like right now.
Maybe they're hoping that, Josh, their words can do the action that their actions don't have to do. They can talk tough enough, yields do a little bit of work for the Fed, which I think we can say is the case.
They tried that.
They back up. We'll just have to see whether they actually do go too far with their actions.
They tried that in the second half of 2022, and it didn't work. And that's how we ended up with 3 consecutive 75 basis point rate hikes. Unprecedented in the modern era, because that didn't work. I don't think that we're at the point where anything materially changes based on a speech. You'll see market reaction, but they had to do the hikes. So we're not debating whether or not all the hiking was necessary. What we're debating is, when is it too much? This is still a relatively complacent market. 54% of the S&P 500 is on the decline today. 87% of the XLK, which is your tech stocks, let's call that risk appetite writ large. 96% of the semiconductors are declining today, with NVIDIA putting up perhaps the second best quarter in the history of any semiconductor company ever. There are definitely people quickly de-risking on this potential vent where Powell tries to use more fire and brimstone at the pulpit. In the end, if we know this stuff operates on a lag, then it's possible a lot of damage, the seeds of a lot of damage have already been planted, and it's maybe too late to stop it. Well, that's what I'm not worried about the next hike. I'm worried about what happens when we catch up with the last 20 hikes.
Policy is restrictive. Real interest rates are positive and are rising, including at the back end of the curve. So you're in a good place with restrictive monetary policy, and inflation is coming down. He's not going to declare that we're finished, but he's going to declare that we're in the end game, that we're fine-tuning. And then his big message is we're going to stay restrictive until inflation comes down meaningfully.